So warming up and cooling down. Firstly, warm up we're going to talk about. There are a few key points for a warm up. You should hopefully have a lot of them in your head already, things that we do. So gradual things are we increase our pulse rate. That'll be from a jog and then gradually increasing that jog to 3/4 pace sprint. And it's important we get our heart rate up so we get oxygen to our working muscles, which is our fuel. Secondly, there is dynamic and static stretching. Dynamic stretches would be things like high knees, heel flicks, side steps, lunges, squat turns, arm swings, and so on. Static stretches are literally when you stand still and you do a stretch on specific muscles, like the pictures in black at the bottom. Then you do a skill-based practice in a warm-up. So let's say you're warming up for a basketball game. You'll do this running, you'll do your stretches, and then you'll get a ball out and you'll start shooting or dribbling or passing and so on. That'll be the same in all sports. It could be trampolining. You'll start with just your pulse raise and your stretches. Then you'll start to do some bounces and do different movements. Then you do some mental preparation. This would also get you a mark in a warm-up. So this is often like in the time, let's say we're playing a football match or a professional football game. They'll do their warm-up, they'll be out on the pitch, and then they go back in the changing rooms. That is their time to then mentally prepare. The main benefit of a warm-up, one, is it obviously focuses you on a game, but it increases the amount of oxygen to our working muscles, which helps prevent injury. There are 4 steps which are down the bottom in yellow, which I've just loaded up. They are essentially the 4 things that you would need to put. If you've got a 4 marker saying identify the 4 parts of a warm-up or identify the 4 stages or whatever it is, they're the 4 things. I've obviously got them in the black bullet points there, but in the yellow box, you've got pulse raising, stretching, skill practice, mental preparation. They are the key points in a really concise order. Then, benefits of warm-up. What I want you to be thinking now, apart from increasing oxygen to working muscles, what are the benefits of doing a warm-up? So why would we do a warm-up at any time? Have a think in your head. Again, if I go too fast, you can go and load up the PowerPoint separately and then work your way through that. Next, we have a cool down. So parts of the cool down is we must maintain our elevated breathing and heart rate. So what we don't want when you go to do a cool down, which is always done after your exercise, you don't want your heart rate to go, let's say it's at 180 beats per minute. You don't want it to drop straight down to 90, because what happens then is lactic acid and waste products that are built up in the muscles, they don't get flushed out. They sit there and they essentially cause things like cramp and fatigue in your muscles. So what you want to do is you want to maintain that elevated breathing and heart rate. So gradually bring it down, and that will help flush out all those products because you're still pumping fresh blood and fresh oxygen to the working muscles. So the first part is maintaining an elevated breathing and heart rate. Second thing, again, it links into that, is you want a gradual reduction in intensity. You don't want it to be really sharp, doing really high intensity, to then doing nothing and just sitting down. Then you have stretching. So stretching is slightly different. So for a warm-up, and you might have to go back up to your notes here, you want your stretches to be between 8 to 10 seconds. Then for a cool down, you want them to last longer. Between 14 and 18 seconds is normally better. So stretching in your cool down, you hold for longer. Again, in the yellow box on the right-hand side is your 2-step process. Essentially, you want a pulse decreaser, which also includes your heart breathing rate, and then you want your stretching, which is mainly static, but there will be some dynamic in there. Now, this key term going to come down the bottom. I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before. So it is DOMS. Okay, you just need to make sure when you talk about a cool down, if you say it prevents DOMS, that will often get you a mark in the mark scheme. Okay, it's important you know what DOMS is. So it's delayed onset muscle soreness. It's a pain that is felt in the muscles the day after exercise. So you'll all know from when we've done like fitness work in schools, or whenever you've done a hard training session, you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, I can't move, my back hurts, my legs hurt, whatever. So that is what DOMS is. Again, now I want you to think, what are the benefits of a cool down? Okay, We're going to go through those in a minute. So what would be the benefit of completing a cool down? Think for like a professional athlete who has to train or play every single day. So benefits of a warm up. Again, this is just list. This will be a type of question you get asked often, maybe a 2, 3, 4 marker. Simply identify the benefits or explain the benefits of completing a warm up. Firstly, it raises our body temperature. That's good. Again, it prevents you getting injured pulling a muscle. If you are cold, you're more likely to injure yourself. Secondly, it increases the range of movement at the joints. And the range of movement at a joint, hopefully you know, is flexibility. Thirdly, it increases the amount of oxygen delivered to working muscles. Again, we've talked about that, and that is through our increased breathing and heart rate. And oxygen is our fuel in our muscles. Main part of a warm-up, though, is to prevent injury. If you're any type of athlete, the last thing you want is to get into a game and get injured straight away and not be able to play. So a warm-up is a very effective strategy preventing injury. And the next one is psychological preparation. So if you just turn up to a game and just play straight away, you're not necessarily going to be very well prepared for it. But by doing a warm-up, it focuses you on the game and it makes you start thinking about it, how you're going to play, and so on. So a warm-up is brilliant for getting you mentally prepared, and that's what psychological preparation means. So there's 5 points for the benefits of a warm-up. Now, cool down. It allows the body to recover is the main thing. So it will recover from whatever exercise you've done. A cool down allows your body to recover from that. This is another one of the really key points. It assists in the removal of lactic acid, carbon dioxide, and waste products. If you're talking about a cool down or DOMS, if you always mention it removes waste products, such as lactic acid, there will often be a mark on the mark scheme for that. So this is a key point to make sure you remember. And what we've just mentioned as 2 slides ago is it prevents delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS. You would get a mark for putting DOMS. The only time you'd have to write out delayed onset muscle soreness maybe is if they ask you to. But DOMS would get you a mark.